Yo, what's up guys, and today I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be doing another scenario from Kubernetes Code called securing Kubernetes clusters using Kyverno policy engine. So let's get into it. So first let's read the overview. So by this time you know that Kubernetes has various resources, configurations and components. Most of these security risks come from security misconfigurations, and as most organizations have various use cases, restrictions, risk acceptance, and guidelines. Kyverno enables this to codify the organization's policies into simple YAML files, which can be loaded into Kubernetes clusters to validate and enforce the best practices as per organization needs. In this scenario, we'll be looking at a simple use case of how we can create a Kyverno policy to restrict anyone from execing into the pods using a simple Kyverno cluster policy in the Vault namespace. So what this is saying is that Kyverno is used for for organizations which want to turn their policies into simple YAML files, so it can be used in their Kubernetes clusters. This can validate and enforce security best practices. So denying a pod, or denying execing into a pod namespace, stuff like that. So yeah. So today we'll be just doing a simple Kyverno cluster policy which will deny us from execing into a pod in the Vault namespace. So yeah, let's get into it. So this is a simple diagram of how. So here we are, over here we're trying to exec into the pod, which we get denied because the Vault namespace has either secrets or stuff like that, and the default namespace is also checking up on there. And this Kyverno is basically the Kyverno policy is basically saying to the API server, do not let anyone exec into the pod, which Kubernetes got secret, which could have secrets depending on the name and stuff. Yeah. So by this end of the scenario, you will understand and learn the following. We will learn how to deploy a Kyverno Helm chart into Kubernetes cluster. We will also learn to work with Kyverno policies in Kubernetes clusters, creating and destroying Kubernetes resources, and applying security best practices using policies. So the story is, this scenario is to deploy a simple Kyverno policy for Kubernetes resources to restrict anyone to exec into the pods in Vault namespaces, then validate this policy is enforced by trying to exec into the pod in the Vault namespace. So let's get into it. So hopefully your cluster is up and running and you got your pods running, and let's just get into it. So see you guys then. So to basically get started with the scenario, we have to create a Vault namespace in our cluster. We can do that by using this command here, kubectl create namespace Vault. So go to your attacking machine and also make sure your pods are running. So with kubectl get pods, you can see your pods running and you see mine are all running. So paste the kubectl create namespace Vault, and we see here we have created the namespace here, Vault. So we can go back to the website, and here what we can do is, now we have to basically, the goal of this scenario is to create a Kyverno policy to restrict anyone from execing into the pods using a simple Kyverno cluster policy in the Vault namespace. So we can deploy the Kyverno policy engine into the Kubernetes cluster by running these commands. So first we're basically adding the repo using Helm. So paste that in. Mine's already existed. I've already done that. So you can go on to the next step. But if yours will take won't take that long. And then now we can do a Helm repo update, and this will just update the repo to see if there is any new updates or anything. So here is updated it, and now what we can do, we can go on and we can install Kyverno using Kyverno, and then the namespace here, and then basically this will create a namespace. So we can copy this, go into our here and just paste that in, and now this will take a while, so just wait for that. You see here it has deployed So we see it has created a kernel, and then its status is deployed, and this is basically saying it is installed. So what we can do here now, I can go on go to the website, and we can basically go to here and see this is the official documentation here. So let's go check that out and see if we can find any documents here. And this is a Kyverno is a policy engine designed for Kubernetes. This is the home page here, and now we can basically kind of look through these policies. These are all sample policies, and what we can basically do is here, most of these policies are here to audit mode and to block resources immediately set to enforce. So obviously we want to block resources. So here what we can actually do, we can scroll down, or even here we can find, I think, block I'm pretty sure it is block exec, or here we see all of the block ones, and we see here we have block exec by namespace label. We have this here. Let's go back. Here we can just open these into different links. So we'll go back with that. Block pod exec by namespace name, and we see here we don't really need these. So these are the two of the ones that we really need. So here we see this is by namespace label, and this is by namespace name. So here what we can do is actually go back to our website, to go back to here, actually go to the solution and walk through here. So we know here what is Kyverno. Kyverno is basically it creates policies for Kubernetes resources and does not require to learn any new languages. Kyverno is designed to work nicely with tools, and you already use like kubectl or customize in Git. So here what we can do is now we can actually run a Kubernetes goat secret. So this is basically the pod we are denying to exec into. So this is basically the Kubernetes goat secret, and we have to stop people from exec into it. So here click enter, and here we see it has created in the Vault namespace. Go back to the website, just go through here, and see now we can do kubectl get pods, and this will basically show if it's running or not, and we have to wait until it's running. Then what we can do is try exec into the pod. Now when we first exec into the pod, it will work. Here we see it's running because we haven't set any Kubernetes policy to not let it exec into the pod. So back here, click enter, and now we see we get a shell. You know, we can do anything, ID, stuff like that. So just want to exit that. Now we see that we are actually allowed to exec into the pod because this is the first time and we haven't set anything up yet. So if we go back to the here, and we see here we have as you can clearly see, we can exec into the Kubernetes Go secrets pod in Vault namespace. Given this secure namespace contains all secrets related to Kubernetes Go, let's create a Kyverno policy and apply it to Kubernetes cluster to deny any exec request into the Vault namespace here. So this is actually a Kyverno block pod we can use. I quickly want to copy that and actually go into the policies and paste that in here. YAML. And see if we get anything back. We don't really get anything back here. So what this is, I'm pretty sure this is actually outdated here. So there's a deprecation. What we can do, we can actually copy this, and there's a deprecation for the enforce block, and this pod exec options does not work at all. So I'll quickly show you guys, because when I first tried to do this scenario, I did use the same YAML file here. So just create a simple, I'll just copy that, gedit Kyverno namespace block pod, paste that in. Let me just quickly copy the code here, YAML, and save that, and kubectl apply tag f. So we see here we get a big error here. So what this is basically saying is validation failure, enforce and audit are deprecated, so we have to use capital this is deprecated, and we see here error from server when creating blah blah blah. And basically what this is trying to say, this is actually deprecated. The pod exec options is actually not working at all now. So what we can do here from now is actually go back to the here, and we see we have a same command, but this is with the actual Kubernetes goat. Let me just copy that. It's basically a Kubernetes goat website. It's the it's this one. This is the basically the newer version of the Kubernetes goat. You see in the Git repo. So we can actually quickly go to the GitHub there. GitHub Kubernetes goat. Goat, and this is the GitHub here, and basically the latest merge, the latest pull request was actually accepted, and this basically solves this error here. So it's a deny exec error and enforce deprecation issues resolved. So this is basically a quick error here, which has been fixed. So we can copy that, or we can actually even just copy the one on here, because they both lead to the same thing. So just copy that, go back into the here, and we can just quickly apply this, and we see we get no error back, and it's created the cluster policy kernel. And now we can what we can do is kubectl get cluster policies, and this basically tells us all the cluster policies. And we see here we have the deny exec in vault namespace, and the validation action is to enforce. So enforce basically takes action instead of audit. If we do audit, we'll actually just get it in the logs. And we see here the message is ready, and it's basically ready to. So we can try the same command here, execing into the vault namespace, exec tag it and the goat, and we want the sh shell. See here we get a request from here saying we are not allowed to vertically, we were blocked due to the following policies. The pods in vault's namespace should not be exec into. It has Kubernetes goat secret. So this is saying that we cannot access it, because either we don't have access or no one has access, and it's strictly there because they have some Kubernetes goat secret. So we see here the policy has worked, and that's basically the whole point of the scenario, to basically get the Kyverno cluster. We can basically secure Kubernetes clusters using Kyverno policy engine. So you can actually try some more with this. Instead of enforce, you can maybe audit, and maybe just try find the logs of that and stuff like that. So let's go back to the website here and scroll down. We have done all this, and just copy this. This will basically delete the cluster policy, blah blah blah, and paste that, and that's basically it will run in the background here. So that's basically the scenario up, and now and you see here we have successfully learned how to implement and work with Kyverno policies in the Kubernetes cluster. So that's basically the video. Just a simple scenario on how to secure the Kubernetes clusters using the Kyverno policy engines, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.